Hello again. Welcome to Created in Awe on YouTube. I'm Joey Bailey. If you enjoy what you see here, I hope you might subscribe and like the video and come back and see more. Today we're going to take this chalkboard. It's a farmhouse frame chalkboard from my Magnolia shop. You can find it at createdinawe.magnoliadesignco.com. The link will be down below. And it's a chalkboard in this frame. It's actually removable. It has hangers to hang it either direction. But I don't want to use the chalkboard. I want to use this piece of cardboard that I have cut to fit inside the frame. It just will pop in and pop out with just a little bit of work there. And we're going to decoupage a piece of rice paper to it. I want to make it interchangeable. And actually, you could probably flip it over and do something on the other side of it. But we're only going to work with the one side today. This rice paper came from an affiliate I have with Decoupage Central. It is called Old Yellow Truck. Duo rice paper. I'll put a link to it down below. And we're going to just use matte Mod Podge. That's all I have here with a paintbrush. I'm going to spread it on about half of the piece of cardboard, getting it all the way to the edges. I'm skipping ahead. And I'm going to flip it over and lay it down onto the rice paper so that I can line it up. It's not going to be perfect. I wasn't expecting it to be perfect. You'll see here in a little bit, I kind of have a fix for that I was planning to do anyway. So once I laid it down, flipped it over, I'm going to smooth it out and lift up the other portion of rice paper, add my Mod Podge again to that portion of the cardboard, spreading it out evenly all the way to the edges. And once that is all applied, then I will lay down the rice paper. Now I do want to make sure I don't have air bubbles. And since my Mod Podge is kind of thick, it's coming through and getting stuck to my fingers. So when that happens, the best thing to do is use some kind of piece of clear plastic, like cellophane, saran wrap. I just grabbed, actually it was like a plastic sleeve from something I had bought, dragged it out of the trash can. And I'm using a brayer to roll over that to smooth out the wrinkles and the air bubbles. You can just use your hands if you want to smooth across it if you don't have a brayer. But that plastic sheet keeps it from sticking to your hands. So I'm going to clean up the table a little bit so that we don't have Mod Podge sticking to the bottom of the board or the bottom of the cardboard as we're working. So I'm going to get that all cleaned off the table. And we're going to go ahead and dry this. I do want it to be dry. A lot of times if I were to go back and give it the sealing coat of Mod Podge over the top while the paper is wet, that paper becomes a little more delicate and can then pull up and wrinkle. So it's better to dry it first. And I'm going to go ahead and sand off the edges where they overhang from the edge of the cardboard. So I have this little gator sander, super handy. It's in my Amazon shop if you need that. And the little pieces of sandpaper actually come off. They're on by Velcro, so I can just switch it off onto that little handheld piece. So I'm going across the cardboard. Be very careful that you don't bend the cardboard. Hold it firmly and be very careful and gentle as you scrape down the edges and kind of go at a 45-degree angle. Once you get all of the edges cleaned off, you can see that white edge that is still showing. Like I said, I wasn't trying to be super perfect on centering this because I knew I was going to do a little bit of a painting technique on the edges, and you'll see that here in a little while. So it's time to go ahead and seal it down. So we're going to, just like we did on the plain cardboard underneath, we're going to spread across a nice solid coat of Mod Podge. Doesn't have to be super thick. I got it a little thinner than what you saw there. And once you have covered the whole piece all the way to the edges, you're going to give it a good drying. Make sure it's totally dry for the next step, which is going to be stenciling. So I showed you the chalkboard is from Magnolia Design Co. because we use chalk paste on chalkboards that can be washed off and changed up. The stencils that we're using can be used on just about any surface you like, and also using the chalk paste. So that's what I'm going to do here. I have this truck stencil called Country Roads, and I'm just going to use the portion that has the words. It says, "Country roads, take me home." I know you're probably singing that song in your head like I am. It does have a couple of little hearts on it that I'm not going to stencil. I only want the words. So I'm just kind of working with the placement here, have an idea of what I want. That part of the stencil I've never used before, so I have to add some fuzz to it. So what I do is I pull it off the backer sheet, and if you don't know, these stencils are reusable if you just carefully wash them with cool water. So in order to reuse it, it has to be adhesive. It's going to stick onto the surface. It holds all of the design elements together from the vinyl layer, and it has a mesh layer over the top to do that. So first thing I do is add fuzz with this little towel I have called the Tacky Towel. It is also from Magnolia Design Co., but you could use an old t-shirt or a tea towel to do this. Just lay it down, pick it up about 2 or 3 times, and it's not quite so sticky now. Now I don't have to worry about it sticking so hard that it stretches when I pull it off, or possibly ripping that rice paper, even though it is sealed with Mod Podge. So once you get it lined up the way you want it, you're going to, kind of like you did with the rice paper, smooth it down and work out any air bubbles. I want to make sure that all of the parts I'm going to be stenciling are stuck down really well to that surface. Now I'm grabbing my chalk paste, which the reason we use chalk paste instead of any kind of paint is because it's designed to be washable, and so it will wash off of that stencil. And it's pretty thick. I'm going to stir it up here to make sure it's not too thick. Sometimes as I have used it and left the jar open, it gets a little dry and I have to add water to it. So I'm giving it a good stir to make sure it's not too thick. And once I have that stirred up, I'm going to use that little green silicone squeegee that I laid there on the table to apply the paste to the stencil. So all I have to do is grab a little bit, doesn't take much, and that's actually more than I need, but I'm going to start applying it over the open part of the design where I can see through the mesh to the surface below. So I'm just going to gently lay down that paste that I have on the squeegee. Once that is applied to the stencil, I'm going to clean off my excess and go back and kind of scrape over a little more firmly, not too heavy, to pull off the excess from the stencil, because you don't want it really thick. You actually want a very thin layer. Once I've done that, I'm going to pull up from one side carefully, and I'm checking to make sure everything is covered thoroughly. And right here, I see the top of that letter is not. So I'm just going to stop, lay it back down, and add a little bit of paste right to that spot, and then we're going to keep pulling it up slowly, and it's all done. It came out perfect. We have 100 different colors. That's an exaggeration, but a bunch of colors that you could choose from. I just like the contrast with the black on that yellow. I thought it came out so cute, and it just makes you want to sing the song. But we do need to do a couple of things. I want to finish out the edges of this board. This is that technique I was talking about. All I'm doing is going to take a sponge, and I could use paint on this, or I could use paste because I'm not using a stencil, so it doesn't matter. Just a craft sponge, and I'm just swiping it along the edges to basically cover up any imperfections and make it all kind of uniform looking. I'm finishing out with like a dabbing technique, so it kind of softens it. Almost makes it look like maybe you call a vignette. I don't know. I think it's cute. I think it gives it more of a rustic, old-fashioned look. And it does need to dry, but I want to clean off my table. I'm actually going to, let's swipe off those edges because it got a little thick in a few spots. So I'm swiping off the edge of the cardboard so it's not too thick. And that way it still fits in my frame. Cleaned off my table, and we're giving that paste a good solid dry. So the paste needs a good solid coat of clear sealer. I prefer matte, so I'm going to take this outside now and give it a couple of coats of this clear sealer just to make sure that water doesn't affect it, because like I said, the paste is washable. Here we go. We're back, and here it is all finished. Country Roads, Take Me Home. Super cute. And all I have to do now is pop it into the frame. The back side, it definitely could be used for another project. So we will see. I might come up with something for that. But I think this is really going to be cute for summer. Maybe it will probably take us into the fall season as well. But I'm just going to push it right down into that frame. I cut it so it was a nice snug fit. And that's it. Now you could actually put this into a regular frame with a glass cover over the front and make it permanent, but I like to change things up. So here it is, Country Roads Take Me Home. Hope you enjoyed it. If you need any of the supplies I've used, I'll list them down below, or you can ask me any questions you have. Thanks for watching Created in Awe. Have a great day.